What if Anakin never told Padme about Mustafar? Let's start this story during the events of Revenge of the Sith. Obi-Wan begged Padme to tell her where Anakin had gone, but she couldn't utter the words. She knew what Kenobi's intentions were and she wouldn't let him do it. In the original timeline, after this conversation, she decided to go to Mustafar herself, which Kenobi utilized and snuck onto her ship. But in this timeline, Padme would stay on Coruscant, and thus, Kenobi has no way of getting to Anakin on Mustafar. Meanwhile, Yoda and Sidious have their duel, which ends in a stalemate and forces Yoda to flee off-world with Bail Organa. Obi-Wan joins them and they regroup back up on Polis Massa. Whilst this was happening, Anakin slaughtered the Separatist leaders and returned to Coruscant. Palpatine tells Anakin of Yoda's attack and warns him that Kenobi might pounce next. However, they increase planetary security to ensure there's no way the Jedi can get to them unseen. After this, Anakin goes to visit his wife to make sure she's okay and update her on the situation. However, as he rushes in to hug her, she puts up her hands to block him. She tells Anakin she knows what he's done, what he's become, and she cannot be a part of it. Anakin looks at her confused, telling her the Jedi are attempting to take over. He is protecting the Republic and saving the Chancellor. "Don't you mean Emperor Palpatine?" she rebuts. Padme begs Anakin to see reason that Palpatine has used his power to ensure he helped him become Emperor. But Anakin shakes his head, telling Padme that Palpatine is looking out for them, that he's the only one who can help him save her. His anger starts to rise as he yells at her, asking why she can't see that everything he's doing is to save her. But Padme screams back, telling Anakin that she doesn't need saving, and in the unlikely event that she dies, she'd rather die than see her kids live in the galaxy Anakin has helped build. They both stood there in silence, breathing heavily after yelling at each other as Padme grasped her belly. She feels it, her water has broken. She mutters Anakin's name and tells her not to worry, as he calls the nearest air taxi and they go straight to the Royal Hospital of Coruscant. Anakin stands outside the room, sweat dripping down his forehead. He watches as the droids assist her in labor, but this only increased his anxiety. He looked to his left. Finally, Palpatine had arrived. He tells Anakin the time has come. The past 24 hours dedicating himself to the dark side has led to this very moment. He coaches Anakin through this, telling him to reach out with the Force, connect deeply to the dark side within him. The anger, the hatred, the fear. But don't let the emotions consume him. Let them fuel him and channel them into his power. And use this power and direct it straight into Padme. They do this together as Palpatine begins to chant a Sith ritual in the ancient tongue. Anakin feels the dark side rising as the Force slows steadily towards his wife. Padme begins active labor. Pushing, and first out comes Luke. Anakin and Padme make eye contact, tears of joy down Anakin's face, and in that moment, nothing was wrong in the universe. Palpatine tells Anakin to focus, that it's not over yet, there is another. Next out comes Leia, as both babies are held in Padme's arms. Anakin looks to Palpatine, thanking his master, that he couldn't do it without him. Palpatine bows, telling Anakin that it's his own strength that kept Padme alive. Had he not given himself to the dark side, she would have most certainly died here. He reminds Anakin that now he has 3 beings to care for, and will no doubt need this power in the future. Palpatine leaves as Anakin goes to be with his family. Palpatine knew he was walking a fine line. Anakin had committed to the dark side, even if in reality, Padme was never going to die in childbirth. He skillfully manipulated the situation, so he believed it was inevitable. Now he had the chance to keep Anakin in the dark side, and no doubt Padme and his children would be a tether to the light. However, he sensed through the Force that the opportunity to turn husband against wife was almost upon them. Anakin hugged Padme, Luke, and Leia so tight. He had done it. His quest for power was successful. Through his use of the dark side, he had saved Padme from certain death, and Palpatine was the only one who helped him. Not the Jedi, not Obi-Wan, just Palpatine. Padme strokes Anakin's cheek, telling him they can all be together now as a family. They can leave everything behind and focus on raising their children. Anakin tells Padme that now isn't the time to talk about this, but she insists, telling Anakin to open his eyes, that she was never going to die in childbirth. His dreams were a lie, and he never needed to join the dark side. Anger swelled up within Anakin. He almost couldn't control it. The dark side was too strong, but he successfully swelled its surge. He told Padme to rest, that all will be okay. They don't have to focus on any of this now. But Padme was worried. Anakin had changed. He wasn't the same man she once knew. Whatever Palpatine has done to him has altered him. The dark side, its poison has stolen her husband and she must have him back. But at what cost? She now has 2 babies that she has a duty to protect. Who does she focus on? Her beloved husband or her newly born babies? That night, Anakin returns to Palpatine to once again thank him for saving his wife. Palpatine tells him he did exactly what a father would do for a son, that Anakin is his family and he would do anything for him. Together, they can help create a galaxy that his family deserves. However, before they can continue their discussion, they sense something is wrong in the Force. Anakin asks Palpatine if he can feel it, who also tells his apprentice he can. A disturbance focuses around, and Anakin's heart sank, the Senate apartment complex where Anakin and Padme's home was. They rush there together immediately, wasting no time. Meanwhile, at Padme's home, she had a visitor. Bail Organa had come in the middle of the night. He begged Padme to come with him and bring her children. He told her it wasn't safe for her, with the Empire growing. Palpatine's power now cemented, he will not stop until she's out of the picture. This is because he needs Anakin's power, and his connection to her is a detriment to this. The twins are also in danger. The children of the Chosen One, Palpatine will no doubt have his eyes on them as his future apprentices. Padme didn't know what to do. She told Bail she can't leave Anakin, but Organa told Padme Anakin was gone. She must come with him now to save her children. If she doesn't, she never will. Padme knew Organa was right, grabbing Luke and Leia and boarding his ship. But right as she entered, she was stopped in place. She turned around to see Anakin and Palpatine standing there. Palpatine's hand outstretched, while Anakin stood there in complete disbelief. Padme screamed at Anakin, begging him to help her, to let her go, while Bail yelled at his pilot to take off. They tried to, but to no use. Palpatine's grip on the ship was absolute. Anakin stood there frozen. He couldn't believe Padme would betray him and take their kids away from him. Palpatine boarded the ship and killed the crew except for Bail, and took both her and Padme to the Imperial prison. Palpatine told Anakin he had to do this, since she conspired with enemies of the Empire, and in his sadness and anger, he agreed with this. Padme begged Anakin to help her, but it was no use. Padme was put in prison while Organa was interrogated by Palpatine himself. He got all the information he needed from his mind, and launched an assault on Polis Massa, destroying the moon. However, Obi-Wan and Yoda had already left. Anakin was heartbroken with Padme's betrayal, and Palpatine uses this to further Anakin's journey down the dark side and turn him against Padme. To truly accept the dark side, you must sever all ties to your past life, and Padme was at the core of this. Palpatine told Anakin the Jedi have corrupted her, and she chose to leave. That even after all he did for her, even after he saved her life, she would still leave him. This resonated with Anakin, and his heart had truly broken. He felt a new level of sadness, with hints of Anakin that he never had before. However, Padme was still the love of his life, his soulmate across the stars, his angel, and deep down, he hadn't given up on her fully. Over the following years, Anakin's power soared in the dark side. Palpatine shared with him the secrets the Jedi Council refused to, as he combined the dark side with the power he already knew to reach an entirely new level. His battle arsenal increased, Palpatine providing him with as many Sith holocrons that contained ancient Sith alchemy techniques and spells he mastered quickly. Palpatine couldn't believe how fast his power was rising. Palpatine genuinely wanted Anakin to become stronger than him, to become the strongest Sith of all time and ensure the Sith would rule forever. And with what he saw in Vader, he knew this was guaranteed. During this time, Anakin visited Padme in secret from Palpatine. He still cared for his wife, even though the pain of her betrayal remained. At the beginning, Padme tried to convince Anakin to set her free, to help her, but this was futile and she stopped asking, but instead got Anakin to tell her about Luke and Leia, how they were doing and what was going on around the galaxy. Across the stars, Yoda and Obi-Wan were active during this time. They focused on recruiting as many Jedi survivors as possible to gather the remnants of the Order. They did this because they knew they would have to start a rebellion early, because in this timeline, they don't have Luke and Leia to rely on in the future. They work together, following any hint of Jedi survivors and send them to Dagobah, where they regroup their forces. The loss of Bail Organa was heavy, but instead they worked closely with Mon Mothma and other senators loyal to their cause in secret, to procure funds and enemies of the Empire to their cause. In the first few years, they focused on saving Jedi while setting up laboratories around the galaxy. that were capable of removing the inhibitor chips of the clones, and the majority joined the rebel cause. This was led by the Bad Batch, Captain Rex and Commander Cody, and over time they were able to amass a small army. They stole countless ships and weapons, as well to add to their fleet, and after only a few years, they had a reasonable fighting force. During this time, Anakin worked closely with the Inquisitors to hunt down the remaining Jedi. Anakin barely used a lightsaber during this time, focusing on his new force powers, and would only bring out a lightsaber when his enemy was strong enough. He favors force choke and deadly sight, incinerating an enemy with his pure dark side power. In this timeline, Anakin is the face of the Empire just as much as Palpatine, the hero of the Clone Wars, the one who saved the Chancellor from the Jedi. His name was known by every child around the galaxy, and they all looked up at him. And now he's fighting back against the tyrannical rebel movement. After a few years of building up their forces, the Rebel Alliance, led by Yoda and Obi-Wan, started attacking the Empire directly, taking control of supply lines, stock shipments, and storage units to bolster up their own forces. This was having a significant effect on the Empire, especially since all clones captured during the attacks would have had their inhibitor chips removed and then would join the rebels. Through this, Palpatine initiated the beginning of the Stormtrooper movement, and Anakin began focusing on the rebels directly, rather than the rogue Jedi. Anakin was brutal in the war against the rebels, leading a massive fleet of Star Destroyers that would wipe out any inkling of rebel activity. He needed to find Obi-Wan and Yoda, as with their defeat, the Jedi Order would crumble and then he'd be able to enact his final revenge and increase his power. Anakin decimated Jedi after Jedi, leading the rebel forces. Whispers of Anakin's power made their way to the surviving Jedi, and fear began to spread through them. And subtly through the Force, Anakin could feel this fear and knew that with time, this would draw him to them. But the Empire got lucky. They intercepted a distress call sent from a losing rebel fleet to the planet of Dagobah. Palpatine knew this was significant, contacted Anakin instantly, who took his entire fleet to the planet and blocked off any escape route. Yoda and Obi-Wan began to panic. Anakin was here. Anakin coordinated the aerial forces to attack, while he personally led the ground forces to attack their temple. They had heavy cannon defending and dense artillery, but the shields of the AT-ATs would be strong enough to push forward. Anakin advanced at a lethal pace, cutting down Jedi left, right and center, while stormtroopers rushed up behind him to engage the traitor clones. In the distance, Anakin saw it, Yoda. He increased his speed and rushed instantly. Yoda felt it through the Force right as it was upon him and pulled his green blade inward at the last second to block Anakin's strike. He moved faster than he ever had before, and Yoda was forced to utilize his Form 4. In full effect, somersaulting and dodging Vader's strikes, as he knew one misstep would mean his death. And he was right. Yoda flipped backwards and instead off to the side, right into the line of fire, as Anakin sent a red Sith lightning towards him. Yoda absorbed it, but this lightning was too powerful, and it burned the Grand Master to a crisp. He looked up, and in front of him was Kenobi. Obi-Wan called out to Anakin, but he didn't hear him. He merely stared at his old master with hatred in his eyes, activating deadly sight. Obi-Wan's body began to burn, and in a panic, rushed at Anakin to attack. But it was no use. By the time he reached Anakin, he was forced to his knees. The pain was too much as Anakin raised his red lightsaber and brought it down on Obi-Wan, ending his master's life. With this, the battle was over. Anakin destroyed the rest of the remaining Jedi and clones, and the rebel movement died a disastrous death. He returned to Coruscant and went straight to Palpatine's throne room. He knelt in front of his master and presented the lightsabers of Obi-Wan and Yoda. Palpatine cackled and congratulated Anakin that with their deaths he had brought peace to the Empire. He turned and looked out his stained glass window across the surface of Coruscant. But he turned as he felt it through the Force, a change. Anakin had used the Force to ignite the blades of Yoda and Obi-Wan and threw them at Palpatine, who blocked them at the last second. Palpatine scowled. He believed he'd have more time to prepare for Anakin's betrayal, that although more powerful, he believed he could outsmart his apprentice, but he hadn't had enough time for this and knew his life was in danger. The fight started with a battle of Force lightning, Palpatine's speciality, although Anakin's innate connection to the Force meant he was matched in power. This was a stalemate, and they were forced into a battle of Sith alchemy. Palpatine ushered a Sith ritual which conjured blue flames from his hand that continuously grew in intensity and danced around the room with Anakin as their target. But Skywalker successfully evaded and conjured up Sith spawn, creatures made of the dark side that fed on the Force, and he sent them towards Palpatine. Sith alchemy required immense strength, and both sorcerers were highly strained in this fight. But neither of the resolves weakened, and Palpatine's blue flame successfully defeated all of Anakin's Sith spawn, but Skywalker ignited his red saber and charged. Palpatine did the same, knowing this conquest would be decided by skill of a lightsaber, rather than power of the Force. But Palpatine wasn't ready for Anakin's raw power, his strength, his youth. He was far stronger than he'd ever imagined. Each strike sends Palpatine stumbling off balance until Anakin successfully disarms him and Palpatine was forced to his knees. He looked up at his apprentice. Palpatine thought he would accept death, knowing the future of the Sith was guaranteed. However, when he looked up at Anakin, he saw something was wrong. A slither of light inside of him, a tether, one Palpatine should have removed years ago. This is why Anakin is attacking now, because now he believes he is stronger than Palpatine and wants to get rid of him, the last obstacle between him and Padme. All these years, Anakin hadn't given up on her. However, he was able to hide this desire from his master. Palpatine attempted to gather his power to make a final attack, but Anakin was too strong and crushed his chest with minimal effort. After this, Anakin went to the Senate and declared that Palpatine had been killed in the final assault against the Jedi, but in his place, he will rise to the rank of Emperor and command the galaxy. This was widely accepted. Anakin was popular and already held a high rank in the Empire. After this, he went straight to Padme's prison cell with an offer. He told Padme what had happened. He'd killed Palpatine and become Emperor and begged her to come join him by his side. Padme was shocked by this. She didn't know what to think. She didn't condone what Anakin or his empire had done, but realizes this is a unique opportunity. Because if she joins him, she believes that with time and without Palpatine's influence, she can bring the old Anakin back. Anakin and Padme rule the empire together. Padme took on a more political role in the empire and started genuinely using the empire's power and authoritarian dictatorship to do good around the galaxy. Even though she believed in democracy and this went against everything she stood for. She was introduced back into the twins' life, who now 8 years old were ecstatic to see their mother once again. The old memories of her granted by the Force and the love she showed them began to offset the dark side training that they had started. Over the years, the fire of the dark side in Anakin began to fade. Day by day, Padme's love chipped away at the darkness that had once consumed him. The anger and hatred that had once fueled him in battle no longer held power over him. With her guidance, her unwavering faith, and the gentle reminder of the man he used to be, Padme did what no Jedi, no Master, no prophecy could ever do. She brought Anakin Skywalker back. He was still haunted by what he had done, the Jedi he had killed, the friends he had betrayed, the galaxy he had helped to enslave. But through Padme's forgiveness and the innocence in his children's eyes, he found a reason to live again. Anakin publicly renounced the Sith, and after careful reform, together with Padme and the senators she'd brought back into the fold, they'd peacefully dismantled the Empire's dictatorship. Within 5 years, democracy was restored across the galaxy. Anakin and Padme returned to Naboo, where they found peace at last. They had more children, and together, they raised Luke and Leia to become wise and compassionate guardians of peace, not warriors. Ahsoka came often, finding in them the family she'd never thought she'd have again. And though the scars of Anakin's past remained, they no longer controlled him, for in the end, it was not power or destiny that redeemed the Chosen One. It was love. If you enjoyed today's video, make sure to watch What If Padme Amidala Was a Dark Jedi and What If Padme Was Reborn with all of her memories. Don't forget to check out Fantasy Sabers for the best sabers on the market, and may the Force be with you.